Good afternoon and a very happy Sunday to all of you. So today in HR Shorts with Atulya, the topic that I have for you is something which has been brought up to me by various students who are studying in B schools, who are specializing in HR. And there's one question which keeps coming on from them is, what is the best role with which they should start their career in human resources after doing their MBA in HR? Now this is a very interesting one because there's no right or wrong answer, but I felt that it's an apt question because it creates a lot of interest among the minds on what is it that where we should start our career. So I am going to share a few nuggets with you today on what could be the best possible options that you should look at. But the answer here is that there's nothing called best. You have to look at what is it that you are interested in. But then the second question that comes out is, how do you really choose what is the best possible option for you? So I'll make your life easier a bit today, and I'm going to talk about some of the career options or the first role potentially which HR professionals like me or various people who hire in the industry put you on after you are selected in your first job. So let's talk about the first one, and this is a biased one for me because I have been a HR business partner all my life. So the first role potentially that you get hired for when you get selected after your MBA in your first job could be a HR business partner role. And this is a very common role for which you get selected. And typically you may get your first job as a management trainee where you may be put as a HR business partner under somebody who's a senior HR BP, or maybe in certain organizations you may be made a HR business partner for a function or for a BU with a slightly smaller population of employees working there. This is a very interesting role because HR BP roles are more on the execution side of HR, right? So in a HR BP role, you typically understand how a business or a function operates. You understand A to Z of that, and you understand most of the elements of human resources. So think about recruiting, think about selecting a candidate, onboarding, think about performance management, talent management, culture, strategy, structure, design. So you are pretty much involved in everything. Think about anything, any element of human resources function. And potentially after a period of 2 to 3 years in a HR BP role, you tend to understand that, hey, this is an area where I want to specialize in. Or there are a lot of examples of HR professionals who actually pursue a HR business partner role for one function. It could be factory, it could be sales, it could be a global capability center or a delivery center, it could be a corporate function, it could be something else. And they want to build up their careers as a HR business partner. But the interesting part here is that HR business partner roles typically give you an idea about the different facets of HR. So you may go deep in certain areas, you may not go deep in certain areas, but in a HR BP role, what you get exposed to is pretty much everything that you can think about in the HR world. And that creates a lot of curiosity. A lot of people move into different roles, could be HR BP or specialist roles, that they can take up. So the most common role or the most prominent role which you could get after your MBA, and which is where the most or the larger portion of the HR market today is a HR business partner role. So that's what you should watch out for. If you get a start in that role, it's a great role to start your career with because it gives you exposure about all the facets of HR. The second role which you could potentially get after your MBA in human resources could be a specialist role, right? So there could be various specialist roles. It's a laundry list. It could be talent acquisition, and talent acquisition could be in two parts, right? So one is you work for an organization, which could be FMCG, it could be engineering, it could be tech industry, it could be anything. But what you do is you hire the best people for them. So you understand, you go deep. Specialist role essentially means you go deep and you understand the domain from A to Z. So you may not, when you're doing talent acquisition, you may not be doing a performance management or something else or supporting a business, right? So what you're doing is building the expertise of the organization end to end in that particular function. So talent acquisition, where you hire, it could be campus, it could be lateral for an organization. One of the other roles which today is also very prominent is you get hired as a headhunter. So there are organizations who give you opportunities to work as a talent acquisition consultant or a headhunter. where the job is slightly different, because in a typical organization, a talent acquisition person is responsible for employer branding. It could be hiring the best people from campus, so campus strategy, your pipeline for the organization, where should you hire people from, and end of the day delivering the numbers, the number of people required for the company. However, as a headhunter, you have two parts to the job. So it could be working for a consulting organization where you play the role of not only generating business, that is getting more and more clients for whom you will hire the people, right? So a talent acquisition person who is there as a headhunter is typically responsible for hiring people for an organization, and they are hired by companies who could be in different industries, and they need headhunters. So business development is one portion of headhunting, and the second portion is actually building that network of candidates in the market, those clients for whom you hire people actually. So these are the two specialist roles: talent acquisition for a company, headhunting. Second could be a learning and development role. You can call it training and development, you can call learning and development. So there are different offshoots in L&D, and at an entry level you would potentially report to somebody who's senior, who's heading the function. You would assist in various aspects of L&D. These days L&D also has a combination of organization development. So you could be working on defining the learning needs for the organization. It could be working on an organization development strategy, and the training calendars, upskilling, etc., right? So that's a very important role, and you may be spending time doing that. The third potential possibility is to get into a compensation and benefits role. So this is another third specialist role. These days we call it, a lot of organizations call it total rewards. So total rewards could be a mix of both performance management and the entire element of compensation and benefits, right? So salary surveys, it could be how should your benefits look like, how should your executive compensation look like, and of course the performance drivers for the organization. How should you measure an organization on different aspects? How should you measure people? How do you drive productivity? So a combination of all these factors could be called a total rewards, which is another specialist area where you could work with a very senior person and go deep in that space. The fourth area, which is very prominent these days, and that's the skill of the future, let's put it, or even the skill of present, is a HR analytics or a HR technologies role. So HR analytics would be typically part of HR operations, where you work on data. So a lot of people have interest in data. Data is the new oil, cliche as it may sound, but HR is another domain where data is becoming very, very important today. So how do you work around analytics? What should be the right scorecards to measure HR performance or the people decisions, provide the right insights, analytics, HR data scientists. So this is another area which is prominent where you could make your career. There could be an element of HR technologies, right? So there's so much of investment happening in the technology space today, and HR is no different from any other area. So you could be working on SAP implementation, you could be working on some other implementation of a HRMS. So there are different human resource management platforms or systems where you could be accountable for managing them, and these are all HR technologies which enable managing different end-to-end processes that you could think of in the HR world. So think about talent acquisition, so from the time of attracting an employee to the point of employee leaving the organization, everything is part of that. So pretty much you manage the entire technology side of it. You look out for the best technologies in the market. So those are some other pieces which could be part of your role there. So we talked about HRBP, we talked about which is also called a HR generalist role. So when you say HR generalist, that's a HR business partner role. Specialist roles could be talent acquisition, like I said. It could be total rewards, it could be L&D, it could be HR analytics and HR technologies. And within talent acquisition, like I said, it could be also headhunting. So these are all the roles which you could typically take up after your MBA. Another element, the third element which I want to bring in is a lot of HR professionals who pass out with their MBA degree also join as consultants. So there are various consulting firms, and here is the difference, right? So consulting organizations are also like any other organization, but they work for different industries. So if you may be a consultant working in an organization A, but what you would be doing is designing a performance management system, or maybe designing the compensation strategy. For an automobile, it could be engineering, it could be FMCG, it could be IT, it could be startups, right? So depending on what domain you are supporting, this is an area where you really go deep. You have to have deep expertise, and you build that over a period of time, and you support clients. So you do different projects, but what you're not responsible for is you're not accountable for the results at the end of the day, which come out after the project is implemented, because your job stops once you implement, right? At the end of the day, the entire management of post-execution activities on how well it has been done, those pieces rely with the HR business partner. So if you do a lot of design work in that context as a HR consultant. So these roles are very deep, very prominent. A lot of folks want to start their career with these roles. So this is where I would stop today, and these are like 3 buckets that we need to remember. So HRBP, generalist, specialist, and a consultant. So these are the roles to watch out for. Read about them. I have posted many videos about some of these roles already, so do have a look at those videos on this channel, which is your own channel, HR Shorts with Atulya. And you should figure out those videos that I've done for different HRBP roles that you can do in different domains. And we'll be coming out with some more interesting topics in the coming weeks. So till then, stay safe, stay fine, and all the best from HR Shorts with Atulya.